I truly believe that these leg exercises are the exercises that have recently blown up and made my legs look the best I ever had. When I was getting ready for my wedding, getting into the best shape of my life. What's good, YouTube? And welcome back to the channel, The Last Natty.
The last melon.
Checking in. In one of my previous videos, I shared with you guys that I had some knee pain and it was impacting my leg training. If anyone has ever experienced an injury, some sort of pain that takes you away from your weight training, away from your physical activity, it can be really demotivating. It can take you a few steps away from your progress and can really impact your mental. But it's really important to shift your mindset so you take on the rehabilitation phase as your new goal, that you think of rebuilding just as important as building your strength and building muscle. So with that mindset, I highlighted and I showed some of the strategies and exercises that I was using movement as the medicine and still engaging in weight training to get over my knee pain. So this video is my first workout back into my regular leg routine. And this leg routine, these leg exercises, I truly believe have been very important when it comes to my recent growth and development in my legs. When I was getting ready for my wedding, getting into the best shape of my life, I really could see a difference in my legs. Especially as I started to lean down, I really felt my quads had looked the best they ever had. So I started my leg routine first making sure I got something to eat. It was one of those days where I wasn't able to eat right off the bat. I had to go do some personal training with some clients. So after I finished up my personal training, I went to my gym and made sure I had a pre-workout snack. Because I want to get into my workout quicker as opposed to waiting too long for my food to digest, I want to make sure I'm eating foods that are going to digest more quickly. I've got a whey protein shake and I've got some fruit. Fruit has a high glycemic, it's high on the glycemic index, which essentially means that it's going to be broken down into glucose into the bloodstream. It's going to be readily available for me to use as energy a lot sooner compared to me, let's say, having a bowl of oats or having some sweet potato. First exercise, and this is hands down now my favorite leg exercise, especially when it comes to the development of my quadriceps, the belted squat. So one of the benefits of doing a belted squat compared to some other squats is big one is that there's less axial load. What I mean by that is when you do a hack squat, when you do a barbell squat and you've got the weight on your shoulders, that is compressing down on your spine. So you have to work very hard to stabilize your torso, and that load through the spine, that's a lot of effort and takes up a lot of energy. This takes away that variable, and which allows you to put more cognitive effort, more focus on the actual muscles that we're trying to train. But I'm not gonna lie, it's taken me a bit of time to understand this piece of machine, how to use it most effectively, how to do it most safely, most efficiently. Because as you can see, in that long lever arm, that silver kind of metal material coming out, there's holes in there. And you may be thinking, well, which is the best hole?
That's what she said.
How am I gonna stand? Do I hold the handles? How do I use this efficiently? If you hook onto the hole furthest away from the handles, this is gonna be more challenging. The reason that is because you're taking yourself away from the pivot point, and that increasing the arm length, which increases torque. So that means you're gonna have to work a lot harder for the amount of weight that you have on compared to if you moved a little closer. Another very important consideration is balance and load path. So you start off the furthest hole, the one furthest away from the handles, and you can feel almost your body's balance shifting forward onto your toes. Then that's probably a good indication that you need to go a little bit closer. If you're starting at the very first hole and you feel like your balance is almost like you're going backwards, come back a little bit. You need to find the hole where when you squat up and down, you feel the most balance and you feel the most force in the portion of your midfoot. I've tried going right to the first one, and when I try to extend myself up, the handle actually hits the top of the machine and I actually I come all the way up. I've tried to go the furthest away, but what I found was I was too far back and I was hunching over. I was pushing my hips up as opposed to really just focusing on my quads doing the work. and I'm really focusing on engaging my trunk. So even though I don't have one of my shoulders, I'm taking a big breath of air. I'm trying to think ribs to pelvis. I'm trying to shorten that distance. I'm not trying to lift my chest up. You might hear some people say, oh, chest up. Well, for most people, that is not the right cue. We actually want to bring our ribs down to my pelvis. That's going to prevent any injuries. You're going to be stronger. You're going to get more reps. You're going to be able to make more progress and do it safely. As long as you can, again, keep a neutral spine and you feel balanced, and you feel that force over the midfoot, as long as you're doing those things, you're gonna be doing this exercise pretty efficiently. Typically, I like to do a drop set. However, I was starting to feel my knee just not 100%. So I thought, you know what, Jace? It's always about that just right challenge. We move as much as we can without feeling any pain or discomfort. If we're feeling pain or discomfort, we're going too far. So I knew that's enough. Finish off your final set. Don't worry about a drop set. And let's move on to the next exercise. Second exercise is the leg extension. If I could only have one leg exercise for the rest of my life, I would seriously consider the leg extension, because it is one of those exercises that there's not much fatigue on the central nervous system compared to a squat. It's not as demanding on the leg press. Sometimes on the leg press, I feel like my head's gonna pop. It allows you to just be in a very fixed position, and you just have to really just focusing on just bending your knees up and down. And what's really important about the leg extension is that when you think of the quad muscles, there are 4 heads of the quadriceps. One of those heads does not get efficiently targeted when you do the squats, but when you do the leg extension, it does, and that's the rectus femoris. So it's really important to incorporate in your leg routine, leg extensions. In some part of the week, you should be doing the leg extensions. So as I was not feeling any pain in my knee, I really try to push myself on my leg extensions, including incorporating drop sets. Drop sets are a great way to be able to get more intensity, more volume onto the muscles and train harder than you did on your last session. If you're training harder than you did in your last session, creating progressive overload, that's probably the most important factor, progressive overload, when it comes to building muscle. So there, my 2 leg quad exercises done. That's all I do for quads, 2 movements. Now we're moving on to hamstrings, and I always incorporate some sort of hamstring curl and some sort of hip hinge hamstring exercise. For years, I never really incorporated much hip hinge motions, whether they were RDLs, deadlifts, hip thrusts. I just didn't do a lot of them. I just really focused on hamstring curls, which is not a bad thing, but the hamstrings are responsible for 2 things: knee flexion and hip extension and hip stabilization as well. We take the muscle through those movement patterns and with load to get the best results, to get the best outcomes for your hamstrings. So I will always now, my 2 hamstring exercises will always be a knee flexion and hip extensions. With the hip thrust, I for a long time felt my lower back really work hard. And don't get me wrong, your lower back muscles are gonna work when doing a hip thrust, but ribs to pelvis, a neutral spine, and focusing on that internal pressure that I was talking about creates a nice stiff trunk. It's gonna reduce and prevent any of that lower back pain that you may be feeling. And on the top of the movement, when our hips are extended, focusing on that squeeze of the hamstrings and the glutes. 2 quad exercises, 2 hamstring exercises. This is one of my favorite leg routines. I hope you enjoyed this video. I hope you're able to take something from this video and apply it to your routine, your workout, whatever you do to stay fit and active. Anyway guys, if you like this video, give it a big thumbs up, click that subscribe button, and I'll see you guys for the next video. Natty, check it out. See you guys.